is a huge roar right across this nation, from Perth in the west to Brisbane in the east. And this week, right here in Sydney, is the first official 400 Thunder Australian Professional Drag Racing Series gets underway here at Sydney Dragway, with 2 big days of action for the East Coast Nationals. In coming weeks, you will get to experience all the action with Pro Slammer, Pro Stock, Pro Alcohol, Pro Bike, Top Bike, and today we've got the kings of the sport here with Top Fuel. What a buzz it has been with intensive preparations for the meeting here at Sydney Dragway, and a whole lot of very excited drivers and engineers all looking forward to the first event under the 400 Thunder banner.
And it's really exciting in that it's a whole new series, you know, 400 Thunder. There's a lot of hype about it.
It's the acceleration, it's the high revving engine. You know, it's naturally aspirated sound of a high revving engine that's just exciting. And
well, you know what, that's the biggest thing for me. I'm starting to feel pretty at home coming to Australia, especially coming back to Sydney, being part of the gang with Rapisarda. And
it's straight out just passion. Like I wake up, I live this is my whole family. Like I do, a lot of people can walk away from it because to some people it's a hobby, some people it's a job, but I do it with my family. Like,
and it is a bit exciting actually. The power on these is absolutely violent, and it's just crazy. Yeah, you almost have to have a few screws loose to get into it. So I think I fit the bill.
But you know what? Like the boss says, we come here to race. I come here to win.
Now it's time to fire up with the start of Top Fuel qualifying, and all the pre-season preparation is about to be tested under the full force of competition here at Sydney Dragway. We're set for a start in qualifying with Darren Morgan in the far lane and Peter Gibberis in the near.
We come out wanting to test on Wednesday and Thursday. It rained, so unfortunately we couldn't get nothing down. So we're a little nervous taking a brand new car out. You know, but you know, here we are. Everyone's the same now, so we'll just go out and give it our best shot.
Well, we are under cloudy skies here in Sydney. The weather has been threatening all day long, but we are finally set for a start in qualifying. Tyre smoke on the far side of the racetrack for the multi-time Australian champion, and Peter Gibberis with his own problems on this side of the racetrack in the Premier Hire Top Fuel Dragster. Let's have a look at the replay, and as you can see, Darren Morgan gets out very cleanly. Maybe a little bit too much wheel speed there, straight up in tyre smoke. He knew that run was done. Peter Gibberis, on the other hand, the close side of the racetrack, was mixing up the cylinders. The candles went out early, and only a 6-second pass, not very representative of what that car can do. Our next pair on track now, it is Mark Mariani in the Make-A-Wish Australia Top Fuel Dragster taking on the All-Australian Terry Sainty. This car manufactured, designed all right here in Sydney. Again, problems on both sides of the racetrack. This is a very, very tricky racetrack at the moment. The cloud cover has made things very difficult for these crew chiefs, and I know the American crew chief who's come on board this weekend for Mariani Motorsports, Mike Domagala, he's really standing around scratching his head. The conditions that they don't get to race under all that often here in Sydney, particularly here in Australia. You can see Mark Mariani off the line very nicely in the blue car, but just started shaking the tyres. It is where it doesn't get a clean transition to the racing surface, and unfortunately for him, the chutes came out early. Time now for the first of our Rapisarda Autosport International cars this weekend, being driven by American Corey McLenithan.
It's been easier now that I've done this a few times, and I always get the same car, and then they fly Lee Beard out here from the USA, and I've worked with Lee off and on in my career for the last 20 years, so that part of it makes me feel really comfortable. Always when you have a crew chief that's very safety oriented, and obviously these kids, they give me great race cars and great parts to work with. So like I said, I mean, once I get to come out here, I think this is my 10th time over actually, so it's kind of being more like home. So I get right in, I get the same car every time I come out, so I'm good with that.
Corey McLenithan, the American, in the near lane. He's got the orange helmet colours. Very important to identify when the 4 Rapisarda Autosport cars this weekend are wearing identical paint schemes. We've got Wayne Newby on this side of the racetrack, the man who finished second in only his first full campaign in Top Fuel racing. It was a great side-by-side run till around about three-quarter track there. The Rapisada Autosport cars go 1 and 2 for the time being. McLenithan's crew chief Lee Beard will go back. He knows exactly what he needs to do to get down that racetrack. You can see this is a good run for both cars. Both clean, nice flames on both sides. Wayne Newby just eked ahead at the 1,000 foot, but the candles went out on both sides. We're getting closer to a full run for these cars. And again, tyre shake problems just off the start line where he let off the throttle there. That's right where we call the shake zone. It's the most difficult part on the racetrack to try and get these cars down. You've got to remember, you're looking at over 10,000 horsepower on the start line with these cars. The biggest challenge with them isn't making the horsepower, it's trying to get it stuck down to the racetrack. You can see the tyres start gyrating. That was all it was run and done there for Dom Lagana. Sando Rapisada Jr. sends in his steed into stage. Damien Harris, the reigning Australian champion. And again, a similar story. We've seen this time and time again in this first qualifying session. Very, very difficult to get through that shake zone. Let's have a look at the replay. This should tell us exactly what happened, and you can see the tyres just start shaking. It looks pretty gentle from up here in the stands, but let me tell you, sitting inside that race car, it's like putting your head in a paint mixer. So our results after the first qualifying session. Wayne Newby leads the field with Corey McLenithan, the American, in second. The times aren't important, but the positions are. They set the field for race day. Time now for qualifying session number 2 for the kings of the sport. Darren Morgan, he lines up in the AEG Power Tools orange car, taking on Peter Gibberis in the Premier Hire Top Fuel Dragster. Again, problems for Gibberis, but a pedal for Darren Morgan, on and off the throttle, and our first 4-second pass of the weekend. A 4.87 shoots him straight to the top of this qualifying field. You can see it was a clean pass for the first half. He did have to let off the throttle for ever so slight a second, got back on it, and a few sparklers out at the other end. His crew chief, Ben Patterson, is not going to be happy with that. Very, very spectacular, but it gets him the provisional #1 qualifier. Our second pair for this second session looks like it is going to be a solo, unfortunately. Terry Sainty unable to fire that Top Fuel Dragster. That is a heartbreaker for the local Sydney team, but it is not going to slow down this team. The Rapisada car with Wayne Newby on board, the former top alcohol racer from Sydney. And again, really struggling to get past that 100-metre zone. Up in smoke this time, not shake, just too much wheel speed. This is a real challenge for the crew chiefs, but Darren Morgan has proved that you can get down this track in this session. You can see, picks up the front wheels. The car looks perfect up to that point, overpowers the racetrack, a lot of tyre smoke, and Wayne Newby knew that run was done. Next pair on the line, it is the two Americans, Dom Lagana and Corey McLenithan. Dom Lagana on the far side of the racetrack, Corey Mack on the near side. And again, shake, rattle and roll. It's the first time the Rapisada team has gone to 4 cars this weekend, and I tell you what, that might leave them scratching their head a little bit. I don't know whether they're spread a little bit thin, but they do seem to be having a few problems that they wouldn't necessarily have. Both cars clean. I mean, Corey McLenithan tried to get that thing to hook up, but it just did not want to go. Shake, then smoke, both cars, the flames went out, and a coasting run for those two. Mark the Shark Mariani in the Make-A-Wish Australia Top Fuel Dragster, one of the prettiest cars to ever grace the drag strip here in this country. He'll be taking on Damien Harris on the far side of the racetrack, the hot shoe out of the Rapisada Autosport International camp. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. Smoke and shake, the story of the day here in Sydney. Very, very difficult track conditions for every Top Fuel team out here. And again, coasting runs on both sides of the racetrack. Let's have a look at it. You can see very similar story to what we've seen from the rest of the cars this weekend. Violent tyre shake on this side of the racetrack. Your leaderboard after 2 rounds of qualifying, well, not much has changed except for Darren Morgan shooting all the way up to the #1 spot with our first 4-second run of the weekend.
Well, tomorrow the conditions look like they'll be really good, so the track will be pretty tight, so we should be able to go a lot faster. We had a look at the data before, and the last one we're going to stand all over it and just see what we could do, but now that it's competition tomorrow, we've got to just be a little bit strategic of how we treat the day, and hopefully we'll go a few rounds.
Well, the sun is shining here in Sydney, and that is a good thing because we lost a round of qualifying last night. The good news is we've rescheduled it for this morning. Conditions much, much better, much more conducive to some quick runs. Darren Morgan kicking things off again in the AEG Power Tools Top Fuel Dragster, returning this season after a season off. He will be taking on one of the Rapasada Autosport cars. And a great side-by-side run. Darren Morgan does not improve on his previous best, but I tell you what, the man who did was Damien Harris. 478 for him. He actually leapfrogs Darren Morgan in the qualifying list, goes to number 1. It wasn't a pretty pass. He was dropping cylinders left, right and centre, but it was enough for that number 1 qualifying spot. Next pair up, Wayne Newby taking on Terry Sainty. There's a lot of frantic activity going on here for Wayne Newby. It looks like he might be having trouble getting that car into forward gear. There's only one gear in these cars. It's either going forward or going backwards. You can see the crew member reaching in, trying to get that linkage hooked up. In the meantime, Terry Sainty waiting patiently for that car to back and get it into stage. In the end, it was all for naught for Wayne Newby. Does not improve on his previous best, but that is a fantastic run from Terry Sainty. A huge run. Goes to the number 3 qualifying spot provisionally with a 5:26. The speed is down a little bit because I think he actually got off the throttle just before the finish line. But all things being equal, that's a great run for that team. A return to form that we haven't seen for quite some time. Wayne Newby, well, the story of his weekend just continues. Shake, rattle and roll. That's all it comes down to. But Terry Sainty legs it on across the finish line. A very nice run. The two Americans ready to do battle again for Rapasada Autosport. That's Dom Lagana, the less experienced of the two Americans. He's taking on Corey McLennan, a man who has over 30 winning trophies from the NHRA. And a fantastic side-by-side run. Love to see that. Candles lit all the way to the finish line. You can see, again, dropping cylinders for Corey McLennan. He was actually behind, but Dom Lagana, the chutes came out early. A 483 for Corey McLennan bumps him a long way up that qualifying list. Dom Lagana, a 486, not far behind. Peter Gibberis on the start line now. Again, clean and crisp to the half track. That actually looked like a planned half shut off there, half track shut off. A 5:45, it will move him up the qualifying list. But still a little bit of work to do. You've got to remember, this is still a brand new car for this team, and that's why he shut it off. Big move at half track. When you're running over 300 kilometres per hour at half track, you've got to remember that when things move, they move quickly. Peter Gibberis did the right thing, laid off the throttle and coasted across the line for still a representative time. I mean, a 5:45 is nothing to be sneezed at, but it will keep him in the bottom half of the qualifying field for Sunday's race day.
We've been really struggling with it on the start line, just trying to get it up on the tyre and get it out there without shaking. So we made a pretty big move then just to try and fix that, and it looks like we're just too aggressive out further now, so we just got to go and look at that part and try and fix that area up.
Your final leaderboard heading into eliminations this afternoon. As you can see, the top 4 cars all in the 4-second zone. A very, very tough field in Top Fuel. The field is set for race day. The number 1 qualifier will take on the number 8. The number 2 will take on the number 7 and so forth until we fight our way out to a winner. Eliminations time. This is when things get very, very serious for these Top Fuel teams. The first pair out will be Peter Gibberis taking on the American Dom Lagana. Lagana, a second-generation Top Fuel racer and funny car racer, I might mention. from the NHRA, one of the young guns of the NHRA. He's come over here to try and teach the Aussies a lesson. He's driving for Santo Rapasada this weekend. Peter Giberis in the Premier car. Oh, big tyre smoke overpowers the racetrack for Peter Giberis. And there we have a first-timer on the start line just shaking from the excitement, because that's what it does to your Top Fuel. Dom Lagana goes through for his first round win on Australian soil. That car was aggressive from the outset. Picks up the front wheels. Looks like he may have pedalled it ever so slightly right there. It was shaking the tyres. That is the NHRA experience coming through for Dom Lagana. That is exactly why Santo Rapasada and the boys brought him out. Final preparations and checks being made on the Make-A-Wish car for Mark Mariani. He'll be taking on the reigning Australian champion Damien Harris in one of the Rapasada cars, set for a start. Oh, what a race we have here. Oh, no. That is tragedy for the Mariani team. The chutes came out. I don't think it was intentional, and you can see the disappointment on the faces of the team. It looks like he strapped a hole shot there on Damien Harris, which is not an easy thing to do. The car's absolutely welded together the whole way down this Sydney Dragway 400-metre racetrack. But right there, the chutes shake out for Mark Mariani. That's all it takes to open the door for Damien Harris, and a very lucky round win there for him. The all-Rapasada first-round matchup. This is not what you want to see as a team owner. Wayne Newby and Corey McLenithan taking on each other. I know Santo Rapasada will be standing right down the middle of these two. He doesn't have any favourites between his drivers, but I can tell you the local crowd is going to be cheering on Wayne Newby, the Sydney boy. Oh, another great race. Fantastic race. Corey McLenithan gets the lollies on that one, but Wayne Newby gave him a race of 465 to a 474. Only 1,000th of a second difference in the reaction times there for those two guys. This team is absolutely on the ball. No team orders here. As you can see, only half a car length in it at the finish line. The final pair now for our first round of eliminations. It is the returning former Australian champion, Darren Morgan from Mildura in Victoria, taking on the local boy, Terry Sainty, in the entirely Australian made and designed Top Fuel dragster, the billet 3-valve, the only car of its type running anywhere in the world. This is a danger matchup for Darren Morgan. He needs to lay down a solid pass. Oh, and a big fireball for Darren Morgan. That looks expensive. Problems for Terry Sainty. Didn't even get that car off the start line. But Darren Morgan doesn't know that. He wanted to get that car to the finish line under any circumstances. Gets it over near the centre line, pedals it, and that looks like he's probably hung a couple of rods out of the block. A big fire, and will leave that team with a lot of work to do heading into the semi-finals here at Sydney Dragway for the East Coast Nationals in Top Fuel. The head-on view now for Darren Morgan, and you can see just how much he is driving this car on and off the throttle, and a big fireball.
Darren Morgan making it through eliminations. Was there much damage to the car? That looked like a small fire towards the end there.
Yeah, not as much as I thought. It kicked the head gasket out, and I thought it would have burnt the head up a bit and stuff, but it knocked the rocker cover around and sprung a rocker and a few other things, but yeah, nowhere near as bad as it looked, actually.
Here are your semi-final matchups for Top Fuel from Sydney Dragway. Damien Harris will take on Darren Morgan, and in an All-American matchup, Corey McLenithan will take on Dom Lagana. Don't go anywhere. We've got plenty more coming from the East Coast Nationals here with the 400 Thunder. Welcome back to Sydney Dragway and the East Coast Nationals. We're at the pointy end of Top Fuel racing right now. The semi-finals about to come your way. We've whittled down from 8 cars to 4, and it will soon become 2. Darren Morgan on the far side of the racetrack taking on Damien Harris from the Rapasada camp. What a fantastic race, side by side, the best that Australia's got to offer, and Darren Morgan takes it a 474 over this 400-metre track, beats Damien Harris's 481. These guys really turning it on for the Sydney crowd. Damien Harris just looked like he might have had a few engine troubles at the end there, not very consistent with the header flames, and it was enough to let Darren Morgan through for the victory.
Once again, what our team does best is test during racing, and it's paying dividends. So those guys turned that car around. I broke a bit of shit by pedaling it last time, but they got it all turned around and fixed, and it's like brand new. They pulled up at the other end, they're just mint. So to AEG, Motor Power, thanks very much for getting us out here for you guys, and we'll see you in the finals.
Darren Morgan, a man who most certainly wants to take home that very first winner's trophy from the 400 Thunder event here at Sydney. But who he's going to race is still a mystery. It will be an American, either Corey McLenithan or Dominic Lagana. Now, McLenithan vastly more experienced than his younger counterpart. However, both are known as extremely good drivers. They're under orders from Sando Rapasada to get these cars to the finish line no matter what. There are no team orders. It's all on the line here for McLenithan and Lagana. Who will be the driver that battles to take home the trophy back to America? And it will be McLenithan. A 488 comes up on the boards. A lot of fire and a lot of smoke coming out of that car. That means that it will take all the resources of Rapasada Racing to get that back for the final round. But let's have a look at the replay. You can see Lagana picks the front wheels up very, very high. Just unsettled the car ever so slightly. Started turning the tyres. He pedalled it, that is, got off the throttle, let the car settle back down. But by that time, Corey McLenithan was long gone. It was ugly. It was mixing up the cylinders, and just as he went across the finish line, a big puff of smoke and a flash of flame means a lot of work left to be done, but he's through to the final round to take on Darren Morgan.
Well, Darren, what a dream return it's been for you. Make it into the final, but it's not going to be easy against American Corey Mack.
Oh, absolutely not. They've got the best tuners in the world and the best drivers in the world, so it's a tough gig. But, you know, the pressure's on them. We're just little guys from a little place called Mildura. You know, we've got some good sponsors on board and we're happy to be here. But, you know, all the pressure's in that camp. The best of the best in the world against us. Good luck to them.
You know, it's nice to get through the rounds and make it to the final. So now we got to beat Darren Morgan in the final to win this thing. So we're one step at a time. But after that second round, we had a lot of work to do. And every team that we have here, Rapasada Racing, they all came over. Everybody pitched in and got this baby back together.
Well, each and every week here on Fox Sports, you will be able to watch the 400 Thunder Drag Racing Series. Next week, it's the Pro Slammers' turn to really heat up the Sydney Dragway 400-metre racetrack. Well, it's the final round for Top Fuel, and this is a very, very important race. The first event under the 400 Thunder banner, and it will be Darren Morgan taking on Corey McLenithan. Two guys who have done battle a few times over the years. Corey McLenithan going for his third consecutive win on Australian soil. It's an incredible effort for a guy who races part-time in the US, part-time over here in Australia. Corey McLenithan with 38 NHRA winning trophies on his mantelpiece at home. The man who's got quite a few trophies from Australia is Darren Morgan. He's been away from the seat for a couple of years now, and he's looking to really bounce back with a returning sponsor in AEG Power Tools. The only thing that he will be satisfied with this weekend is that very first winner's trophy in Top Fuel for the 400 Thunder Series. One of the youngest crew chiefs in the business in Ben Patterson. He's very, very experienced, has travelled to the United States to work with some of the best that they've got to offer. And Darren Morgan puts his full faith in this young man each and every time he goes down the racetrack. A very experienced crew as well on board for him. And Corey McLenithan, one of the smartest brains in the business, turning the screws for him this weekend. Lee Beard, you can see him there, casting his eye into the cockpit, making sure everything is A-OK before sending his charge down this Sydney Dragway racetrack. You could cut the tension with a knife. It's all on the line here in Sydney at the East Coast Nationals. The first 400 Thunder final round for Top Fuel. And what a race it is, a 468. for Corey McLenithan, takes home the trophy. Darren Morgan, a 4.67. He was actually quicker than Corey McLenithan, but Corey, with that experience, was quicker off the start line, beat him to the finish line, and what a race, what a way to kick off the 400 Thunder series. You can see on both sides of the racetrack, the flames are up over the wings. Very, very healthy on both sides. Darren Morgan, he was actually quicker in his lapse time, but it wasn't enough. Corey McLenithan gets the win, though I don't think Darren Morgan will be too upset.
Darren, I've never seen someone look so happy to lose. What happened?
We didn't lose. We made another lap. The car's perfect. It's going laps, and we've been out for 18 months, and the best in the world just beat us by this much.
This is what makes me want to be a drag racer and keep on doing it. 52 years old, still winning.
Well done.
Congratulations to Corey McLenithan, the first winner in Top Fuel under the 400 Thunder banner. Join us next week for more action from the 400 Thunder Professional Drag Racing Series.